everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And I tell you this, this whole Israel, you can't insult them, you can't speak up, you can't even talk about them in a negative light or in any sort of critical light, has just, if it hasn't opened your eyes yet to what's happening in this country and who's really fucking up Western civilization, I can't help you. Today, the Hebrew hammer on the page on your right side, I guess, that butte with the beard, with that gay beard. Oh my God. His name is Josh Hammer. And Josh he's upset. He's a Jew. He's Israel first, even though he lives in America. He says he'll die for Israel, even though he won't go over there and fight any of their wars. Well, they don't fight their wars. And he's saying some strong words. He's going on social media and saying some very strong things, if you haven't seen. He's upset with Tucker Carlson, and his words are very, in this day and age, I would say very dangerous. He wrote an article for the Daily Mail, which is a British toilet paper newsletter, where he criticizes Carlson for interviewing Nick Fuentes. He said that it was awful and blah blah, all the propaganda bullshit, right? But here's what he says that is disturbing, and it's the last line of the article, and I quote: "The fox is now comfortably ensconced in the henhouse, and unless the fox is neutralized, the victim could be the entire extent GOP coalition itself." Neutralized. Neutralized. That's a pretty dangerous word, bro. Let's look up neutralized. Neutralize is a verb, right? It's an action used with an object, and there are a whole bunch of meanings for neutralize, but look at the third one. Military, to put out of action or make incapable of action, to neutralize an enemy position. What is homeboy saying here? And that's on Josh. Now, of course, Josh did the cowardly thing. He took out the third line, of course, and because he wanted to make it the top two. But Josh has been going crazy, and Josh has been getting hammered, pardon the pun, on X for this tweet. And he retweeted after Jason Whitlock called him out, and a whole bunch of other people called him out. But he retweeted here, one has to be truly stupid and willfully disingenuous, or in parentheses, or both, as the case may be, to think that neutralized here means anything other than its common usages. I mean that's pretty common to use it in a military sense, to use it in an aggressive sense. But Josh fucked up. See, he put something on social media and he totally fucked up, because now it's all over the place, and now he's going to have trouble defending himself. And he's got that face of a rat that people just want to punch. And he's got the voice of a rat that, well, I never heard a rat. Well, yeah, you hear rat noises. But he is claiming that Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous man in the history of America. He's an anti-Semite, the whole shit. He's an anti-Semite. He hates Israel, blah, 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 blah. Now, I haven't heard Tucker say anything like that. If you talk about Nick, or you talk about some of these other guys, yeah. And that's a good thing. But Tucker Carlson, he's I would say he's a notch above Charlie Kirk. Maybe not as Israel cuckery as Charlie Kirk was. Because Charlie Kirk was I'm so glad he's old news. They're keeping him. They're trying to keep him relevant by using him in situations like this because Charlie was this fucking evangelical, even though he had a Catholic mass at his funeral. He was this Jesus freak dude, even though he's buried in a Catholic cemetery. You know, they're trying to make Charlie out to be the overseer from heaven of the right conservatives and of all white Christian males, and that's not true. Char- Charlie's life is going to come to light in a couple of years when somebody writes a book and they find out this guy was not who we all think he is. But that's for another day. We're going to have an interview here where Josh Hammer, this is a few weeks ago, this isn't recently, says, and this is Jew TV. You can see the man. I really don't know how white women see these guys, find these guys, right? I don't know what's wrong with white women. I know I'm going on a tangent now. Here is Josh talking about our good friend Tucker.
What Charlie was essentially trying to do was he was essentially trying to figure out how to navigate this to keep the Nick Fuentes neo-Nazi Groyper stuff at bay while trying to meet the younger generation, the Gen Z folks who are pretty wobbly on this issue, to kind of meet them on their own terms and to try to kind of guide them towards a better place without using kind of the outmoded rhetoric and talking points of kind of the 1970s, 1980s boomers. That's essentially what he was trying to do. Now, we can quibble as to whether he made the right decision here or there. I happen to not like that Tucker Carlson speaks at Turning Point USA events. I think Tucker Carlson is a malicious anti-Semite. I think he's the most dangerous anti-Semite in the history of the United States. I think he is a profoundly dangerous man. I genuinely feel that way, actually. So I was not a fan of Tucker speaking at these events there, but Charlie deserves the benefit of doubt on these issues because, again, what he was really trying to do was to kind of hold the line to keep the Fuentes Groyper stuff decidedly on the fringe, very much out of the tent, out of the movement. And above all, what Charlie was trying to do was to, he saw himself correctly as a coalition leader of really MAGA, of the American right there. And we can kind of quibble as to, where exactly you draw the line. When you're trying to kind of build an alliance of that nature there, he was trying to kind of strive towards some sort of, middle way, third ground foreign policy that was neither kind of Ron Paul isolationist nor, a George W. Bush neoconservative. And that, by the way, Ali, in some ways is probably why he gravitated towards my book and the way that I speak about this issue, because I very much I personally am kind of the Trump doctrine belief, which is that there is kind of a conservative, realist, nationalist middle ground between the two twin poles there. I think that's kind of why Charlie and I kind of saw eye to eye on all of this towards the end of his life.
Whenever you hear the words essentially or actually, essentially means basically, just for, if you didn't graduate from college. And he's kind of mincing words about what Kirk may have thought. Now, nobody knows what Charlie Kirk thought. Nobody cares. He's dead. He's meaningless now. But they're using his name because his name still holds some sort of weight in this evangelical world. And it's only the evangelicals who worship Jews in Israel. It's only them. Catholics are pretty much, they're kind of split on it, and I think young Catholics now, Gen Zers, are not in favor of Israel or Jews at all. And this is what they're terrified about because there are more and more Catholics in this country, especially with these illegals that are coming from Central, South America, and Mexico. They're not evangelicals. They're not Mormons. They're not Baptists. They're not Methodists. For the most part, they're all Catholic. And they could give two shits about Israel. And they're not going to believe any. If you think that European Catholics are, kind of, oh, the Jews killed Jesus type thing, they kind of like laugh at that. Talk to a South American, Central American, or Mexican person, Catholic, whether they believe the Jews killed Jesus. They are more hardcore than probably anyone in the West right now. So they have no love for these people. Zero. And that's what they're terrified about. And that's why they want to keep these evangelicals and these Protestants, these protesters of Jesus' church, relevant. And they use Charlie Kirk as their example. Now, the thing about it is that people are going to start to find out that this guy Kirk pretty much changed his ways, just didn't tell anybody. I mean, if this guy loved evangelicalism so much, or Protestantism so much, why did he marry a Catholic girl? Why did he raise his children Catholic? And the rumors are that he was buried Catholic. Strange. But the words this guy is using are very dangerous. And this is, of course, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, the Saul Alinsky rules for radicals. You pick a target and you neutralize it. And Tucker Carlson, who I guess was seen as kind of a good boy, has now become somebody very, very dangerous because he's open to speaking to guys like Nick Fuentes, and I guess he interviewed Andrew Tate once in a while, I guess. But why not? It's freedom of speech. You can talk to anybody. How are we going to learn about each other if we don't talk to them? But the Jews don't want that, because the more people get exposed to guys like Nick Fuentes, the more people may say, you know what, he's got a point. I agree with that. So you have to shut down guys like Carlson. You have to neutralize Carlson. Now, I don't know if this guy really knew what he was talking about when he used these words, or if he can read the room. He probably can. Maybe he can. But of course, he's going to say, if you are stupid enough, because of the personal attacks, he Jews do that. You're stupid. You don't understand what I'm saying because I'm so much smarter than you. I doubt that. We have the Fuentes response. And Nick was Nick. Oops, what did I do here? It's about 5 minutes, but it goes by pretty fast because he's on fire. Look at his face. He's pissed off.
So I saw this article. He says, Tucker and Nick Fuentes should be neutralized. Bring it on. Who's going to do it? You? Bring it on. You want to neutralize me? You know where to find me, Josh. Why don't you do it yourself? They say neutralize us. Well, you know, they could neutralize us. I'm sure they could. I'm sure they got bombs inside the pagers. I'm sure they'd have a big laugh about that. Take out one Nick Fuentes, watch 1,000 more take my place, and they'll be 100 times more radical.
That's the danger. That's the danger. See, that the danger of there was no danger of taking out Charlie Kirk, because again, he was lame. He was just a lame white guy, and I hate to keep killing this guy. Again, pardon the pun. Bless me, Jesus. But he wasn't a threat. I don't believe that Israel or Netanyahu ordered him to be murdered, because he wasn't a threat. He was too weak. He's too feeble. This guy, Fuentes, is a threat. But the spotlight is on him too much now. So if you take him out, let's say the Israelis do take him, or some Jew does take him out, the ire of young Christian white males will be through the fucking roof. It will be unstoppable. It will be an unstoppable force that will enter politics, and you will find politicians who will no longer say out loud that they support Israel, because they'll get voted out. J.D. Vance was at a rally at Ole Miss today, and he was grilled on his support of Israel. Grilled. People don't want to deal with it anymore. People don't want this, and this is why if you're smart, you can't take this guy out, because you only make him a real martyr. I like the way he decorated his set.
Go ahead. It won't go the way you think. He says he wants to neutralize Tucker and Nick Fuentes. And of course, if I talked so recklessly about any of them, could you imagine the blowback?
Oh, my goodness.
Could you imagine, God forbid, if I went on my show and said, Mark Levin needs to be neutralized? Could you imagine? I would be hunted by the FBI. And rightfully so. Think about the climate we're in. Think about the climate of political violence. Think about the climate, how intense and polarized and angry, how much tension there is in society. Rightfully so. If Zohran Mamdani, if AOC, if me, if Hassan Piker, if Tucker said Mark Levin, Josh Hammer got to be neutralized, could you imagine? The FBI would be knocking on our door in 30 seconds. But they get away with that like they get away with everything because there's no rules for them. The way they lie, like he did throughout this article, the way they defame, they're calling us Nazis. He's like Adolf, he's a Jew hater. The way they call for censorship.
That's another thing. You know, you call somebody a Nazi, you call somebody Adolf Hitler, you call somebody, you know, you got, especially in journalism, there is libel. There is something called slander where you could be sued for something like this. You just can't go out and say John Doe is a Nazi. I mean, that's ruining his reputation. I mean, what if his boss read that article? He could get fired for stuff like this. So there are responsibilities in journalism. Now, again, this was written in England. This is written in a Daily Mail, and that publication's a rag. But there was no response. It was terribly irresponsible, and the way that these people with the tiny hats get away with this is beyond me. But listen, blacks get away with mocking white people all the time on TV and comedy. So the double standard's real.
The way they call for violence, the way they gloat about death and destruction, nobody else would get away with this. How is it possible? Levin still has an audience with Donald Trump. And Josh Hammer is still on a syndicated radio show. It's time for these people to be canceled. And by that, I mean, when is the pressure going to come for Salem Radio? Cancel your Salem Radio subscriptions. There needs to be a public pressure campaign. You can't go around saying we're neutralizing people and keep your book deal, keep your radio show. It's time for cancel culture to go in the other direction and for people to say, you know what? We're done with this shit. We're not putting up with that. You want to have a difference of opinion? That's fine. Honest to God, if you want to go out there and say, I support Israel, that's your God-given right, just like it's mine to say we shouldn't support Israel. But these people have pushed it to the limit with the lies, the bullying, the intimidation, the threats of violence. It's not acceptable. Nobody needs that in this country. Americans are not going to be bullied by these whiny, high-pitched voice fucking nebbishes. We're not going to be bullied by them. You think I'm intimidated by that? Mark Levin, you think I'm intimidated by you? I'm Italian. We're not intimidated by you. I'm American. We're not intimidated by that. He gets on his show. He gets on the microphone. Big tough guy behind the microphone. You're an old man. We are done being bullied. We don't give a fuck anymore. That's what we all have. Whatever the differences, whatever different backgrounds we come from, whether it's Tucker Carlson, Kanye West, Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, we're just done being bullied. You will not bully us anymore. Do we look afraid? Do we look intimidated? We will not be bullied anymore by these people. It's enough, and nobody has the balls to just say it that way. It is enough out of you.
Fuck these people. We're not going to be intimidated by them. And we're going to stand up to them, and we have to fight them back. There you go. There you go, Nick.
We are all sick of it. And I've seen nothing but that on my timeline for the past 48 hours. All of them. So bold. So audacious. That's the only language they speak. Clavin, Hammer, Levin, Joe Lonsdale, Sean McGuire, Loomer, Shapiro. I mean, every single one of them. Josh Hammer. That's the only language they know is to get on their show, beat their chest, He's a Nazi. He's a Jew hater. I can't believe this is happening. Well, believe it. You don't run this anymore. You are not in control anymore. It's over. It's been over. It's just a matter of time for things to see themselves through. So you can bitch and moan. Your reign is over, and you know that. So anyway. So I saw.
Yeah. Listen, the more you complain and the more you have laws that stop people from speaking out against you or that point you out as a victim, people are going to turn against you pretty soon. And it's happening now. And we're seeing it. And Josh Hammer used a very old, terribly written book. We've talked about this before, Saul Alinsky's Rule for Radicals. And he used rule number 8, keep the pressure on, never let up. You got to keep the pressure on. Don't give up. Don't let anyone talk about Israel. Keep up the attacks on Twitter. Keep up the attacks in the media. And of course, rule number 12, the most famous one, pick the target, Carlson in this case, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. Cut off the support network and isolate the target from sympathy. Go after people and not institutions. People hurt faster than institutions. That's how those people think. That's how they think. Just remember that the next time you hear Ted Cruz or any of these other Protestant fruitcakes say, oh, Israel's our friend. No, they're not. Never were, never will be. Ever. And there's my 2 cents. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there. Be careful out there. Satan is busy. He's always, always busy. And just remember, if you want to know who rules over you, just look at who you are not allowed to criticize. Kevin Alfred Storm. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. And remember, if it ends in an ism, it's a mental disorder. We'll see you later.